was clear that there was an appetite for change in the program, and I could sense that as well.
Nathan, as a leader, and as importantly and more importantly as a person, has huge respect throughout our football club and across the whole Collingwood community and AFL community. We respect him enormously, and so it is with great sadness that whilst it's the right decision for the club and for Nathan, it does come with a heavy heart and great sadness for us all.
Nothing lasts forever. I was going to be tapped at some stage, but there's no doubt that this is the best thing for the football club.
After 28 years, one of the greatest names in the history of the Collingwood Football Club, Nathan Buckley, puts a line under his tremendous contribution. Hello everyone, welcome to Footy Classified. You've met the gang already tonight. Let's go straight to Nathan Buckley, who as always was putting the Magpies first.
At any stage I was up for doing whatever the club were asked of me in any role that I've played. So I reckon if Righty said to me, no, we need you to stay on, I reckon I would have found a way. My messages, my manner, the way that I lead is established, and we had a general sense that it was time for something different. It was time for something new and something fresh.
Nathan Buckley was all class, Caro. All class boy. He's so loved and admired and has so much respect. I think it was respectfully done by everyone there today. But he said some things there that he would have coached out the season if he could. I think he would have taken probably a long-term deal potentially if it could. Was Nathan Buckley pushed from Collingwood?
I believe so. I mean, I think it was a sense of inevitability when the message was subtly delivered on Monday when he met with Collingwood bosses. Unbelievable record, obviously more wins than losses, which is unusual for a coach when he departs mid-season. And obviously, 9.5 years, 5 finals, 3 top fours and then that heartbreaking grand final in 2018. But look, mid-season coaching departures are always messy. They always, to me, portray a picture of a club in a bit of a crisis, and I don't like that it happened for Nathan Buckley mid-season. It just doesn't seem right to me. I understand
that they had been talking about it the last couple of weeks. They got to conversations as late as Thursday, bunkered down for the game against Adelaide, got themselves set, and then Graham Wright and Nathan Buckley went for a long walk on Monday and came to the conclusion that was announced today.
I think you can take two things from what Nathan had been struggling a little bit to get his head around, do I go on or not? But he said ultimately I would have found a way, so I think that desire was there. And clearly I think Righty has tapped him out. There's an appetite for change, tells you that's what's been said, and he accepts that because, and I'll coach out the year if they need me to, but they wanted that change to take effect straight away. That's how I interpret it.
Yeah, and Ed, I've felt all year that this will be Nathan's last, but I also felt the decision would not be announced for another few weeks, and I think it has been brought forward for a number of reasons, and I think they're largely political.
All right. Kerry, you're going to throw to what Nathan Buckley had to say pre-season. Let's have a look at this.
I don't feel like I have to be the senior coach going forward. If that's the best thing for the club, and I feel that I can still impact and help the club move towards contending consistently and winning flags, well then I'll put my hand up. And if the club felt that it was better to go in another direction, well then I would understand that.
I mean, I honestly think that although he was tapped, he really accepts the decision. I'm sure he'll be calling footy for Channel 7 in the finals this year. He'll be a great commentator in the media, and if he wants to get back into coaching one day, he maybe will. Personally, I'm not sure that he will. I just think politically, you've got a board, a civil war at a footy club, a board fighting for its survival. I think this has been expedient for the Mark Corder board to have made this decision, because if they can land a big scalp in the coming weeks and months, it will be good for them. And I also think that you've got the Carlton Football Club, which we'll look at later on in the show, looking for a coach as well, which makes them hasten.
Well, before we go to Carlton, let's go to the press conference. CEO is there, football operations manager, and I know we've got a new president, but he's been on the board a long time. We're talking about almost the most revered figure in the history of Collingwood Football Club, and the president wasn't there. What's your interpretation of that, Caroline?
Well, there's two ways of looking at it. I don't think Mark Corder's public performances have been particularly flash, and I don't think it might not have reflected well on him, to be brutal. And I also wonder whether there was something more selfless in the decision, that Mark Corder didn't want to make it all about him, and inevitably there would have been questions about Jeff Brown, the board battle, etc. But, I don't think... I agree it did look weird.
Well, it caught my eye, and I'm not sure what the make of it, but we're in a privileged position here. What would you have done, Ed?
Oh, well, don't worry what I would have done.
Well, I think it's important. Would you have been there?
Let me give you some insight.
Of course he would have
been there. As best I can today. Well, I would have been there, but of course I would have been there because I've been there. That's what I do for a living, present these things. But my understanding was that they decided amongst the hierarchy of Collingwood that Mark was there, Mark Anderson, and Graham Wright, because they were two of the guys who were on the committee that decided the time was up for Bucks, and they were there and they could answer the questions.
If the president wanted to be there, Ed, the president would have been there.
Of course, I'm just telling you.
I just think it's symbolic that from a coach, like I didn't get a presser, but that probably speaks volumes. But I think,
neither time, in fact.
Well, the other one was choice. So, yeah, but I think, symbolically, I personally would have liked Mark Korda there.
Just on that then, call me naive, but you're saying that Mark Korda makes this decision earlier because it gives him more of a chance of landing a big fish as another coach and keeps him in the job ahead of Jeff Brown?
I think this decision was made by Graham Wright, and I think it was always going to be this decision. In the weeks that have led up to the decision, I think the timing, you can't not think the timing has not got something to do with the fact that there is a board battle going on and that there is a race to land a big scalp, and we're going to talk to one of them in just a moment.
Do you think Collingwood would know who that man is already? Yeah, would have moving Nathan Buckley on with a particular man in mind?
I don't. Look, I think people get too carried away in the media on these things. You know what I think has happened to both Collingwood and Carlton? I think they've got to a situation where the season now looks like it's done, and you go, if we wait another 6 months, we're going to just waste 6 months. Let's get moving on it.
Can we pay some respect to the position and the weight that Nathan Buckley carried this year? If we know what the history's been over the last 9 months, it's been tumultuous. So no one could name the 6 board members of Collingwood. No one could almost name a list manager, but Nathan Buckley, as senior coach of that club, carries the whole face of the club and the load. And when players are coming in and the cameras are on them and they're avoiding the cameras, what do you think that team meeting's going to be like? What do you think their first rep at the bench press?
Taking sides in a board battle, Ed's dramatic departure,
it's
the do-better report,
toll.
The end-of-season fire sale, Bucks' own COVID transgressions last year. It's been a mess for quite a while.
Yeah, it's taken a toll on Nathan, I think. But to see his growth from a player to initial coach and the vulnerability he now shows and the leadership, he's one kick away from being a premiership coach. You're talking about 6 points. Would he have been moved on in the context of... It was a famous final last year against West Coast. A grand final, a prelim. I think it's a really hard decision.
So you're saying he was let down?
I'm saying it's a hard decision. I'm saying it's a hard... Now, unless you're on the inside, you don't know all the ins and outs, but objectively, prelim, grand final, famous victory, injuries, no how,
in
no
a tough year last.
Graham Wright has conducted a lot of interviews, including with players, and he's come to this decision. And you're...
Yeah, and I want to... obviously, Scotty Pendlebury was also interviewed today or asked a doorstop today, and he had this to say about Nathan Buckley.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shock. You come into train today and... that happened, so it's definitely a shock, and... first time in my career that I've ever been through something like this before, so yeah, it's I feel almost a little bit numb. Thinks it's the best thing for the club. No person's bigger than the club, and he thinks it's the right time for him to step away. And he just spoke about his gratitude for the place. He spent half his life here.
You can see the shock there. Nathan Buckley, as you said, the respect for Nathan, revered, respected, loved, all those things. But clubs move on pretty quickly, don't they, Ross? Yeah. And I had Sheedy and Hurd retire in the same game, yet everyone's trying to forge your own career and people move on.
Well, it's a competitive industry. It's high performance, it's win-loss. You need to perform, so you haven't got time to dwell. They'll be around his place tonight, I would hope. Yeah. Giving him a cuddle and saying goodbyes. But then from there, he would expect them to get on with it, and they will get on with it. Yeah.